All right, Brian. So we're gonna do one of your sandwich deals.
This is deal
Let's
number
start
one.
out.
Number one. Number one.
Good. Then we'll talk about what it looks like now. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so we're doing first deal. Brian, what was this? How many months ago was this?
This was
During COVID.
COVID, April of 2020, right in the middle of it.
So this was little Brian when he first put his real estate pants on, working his butt off, making phone calls 4 hours a day while traveling 3 days of every single week, and figuring this out. On top of, oh yeah, COVID, which the media told you 2 years ago not to buy real estate because of COVID. And Brian's hopes and dreams are sitting on the cusp of this deal. And here he is. All right, Brian, tell us about the motivation of the seller.
Zach, quick comment on that, please. You just made me think of something. You said everybody's telling you not to do deals. One of our, I won't even call it a competitor, he's sort of a friend, but he's in this business. When COVID hit, we screamed and helped associates understand why to double down and go do deals. And as a result, created this and many other deals in 2 months. His office closed. He closed down and went home. There's a difference. So you're around a good supportive community. We'll only tell you the right direction to go if you just would please block out all the media and all the other crap. Go ahead.
We had 54 properties under agreement
Like
when
2 months?
COVID hit. Yeah. Economic uncertainty is a flood of deals. So the moment this market shifts downwards, I would guess that we would double again. Go ahead. All right. So tell us about the seller. Tell us about the motivation.
Yeah, motivation for this seller, something that I didn't realize at the time, is something I listen for on phone calls now all the time. Seller was on the market for 9 months, could not sell the house, and bought another condo and could not afford to mortgage payment. She was moving into the condo that had already closed. That is screaming motivation for terms.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Okay. Where did you find this? What was the source?
Yeah, it was an expired. I left a voicemail for her, and she called back 2 weeks later. She called back 2 weeks later. We had an initial phone call. I went through the script. I didn't do a great job because it was new, but it was enough. She says, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. That sounds like it will work for me because again, I can pay your mortgage payment. Like I'm covering this house for you that you could not sell." And I was at the house maybe 2 days later, and she signed the whole thing took 2 weeks from the first time I spoke to her to closing, signing the lease purchase agreement. It was about 2 weeks.
Wait a minute. So you called once and she called you back 2 weeks later. So in between, you didn't call 17 times to chase her?
I didn't. I should have called her once probably, but I
Once,
didn't.
maybe.
And that's again, being patient. We were talking about this yesterday. The motivated
Say
sellers
three
will call you
times.
back.
I'm a big fan of three phone calls, and then with our automated system, three text messages, three emails. It's 9 touches in about a week. You can probably
Yeah.
get through.
My point was for those of you out there that are new to this community, don't chase people. The ones that are motivated will call you.
And Brian, just a quick question. How long would you know average between when you first talk to a seller and then when you get the property under agreement? That question gets asked a lot.
It does. I mean, this is probably the shortest. I wouldn't say an average, I would know, but I say this is the shortest. And I think the longest is probably about 3 months. So somewhere between 2 weeks and 3 months is my normal turnaround.
We've had 2 or 3 years. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. 2 or 3 years they're great because
Mhm.
if you talk to them, then it usually gets signed like within the day or two. All right. Awesome. Term of this deal.
36 months.
Do you want to point this out too? I know you've seen a lot of 36 months so far the second time. Our average deal started out 24 months, then we increased it to 36 because we were getting super brave and saying, hey, what happens if we ask them for another year? And now I would say our average deal is at around 60 months for a sandwich. Debt on the property.
The mortgage balance was $138,300.
Okay. And the equity you locked in?
36,262.
Out of curiosity, Brian, how did you arrive at 36,262? Do you remember?
That's classified, sir. I'll tell you the story. It's a good one. So it came from you. So you helped me with this. Yeah, you probably don't remember this, but you helped me structure the first deal, and you had like this fancy, metric. They said, and this is what we tell the seller, right? So we're saying, look, we've looked at all our metrics. This is what we can offer, and we come up with this odd number, right, instead of a round number. So all of my numbers are round now, but that was the first deal was, I think, because we purchased it for like, 174, 642. And it looks like you really put a lot of thought into those numbers.
I did.
Yeah. So
I did put a lot of thought into it.
It came from you, man.
Yeah. All right, good. So just so we get clarity on this, do you know roughly about what the debt and the equity together were?
So the purchase price is 174, 642.
To start.
Yeah, to start. Okay. Just so we have the comparison. What did you sell it for?
199.9.
We reached the top of the market there. Good. Love it.
Yeah.
Wait, so when he expired, what was he on the market for? He or she?
She was a couple years back.
That's okay. We don't know. I was
above
curious.
that, definitely above that. No doubt. And this house is worth way more than 200 grand right now.
And the reason I ask, well, one, I want everybody to know, but two, when you're talking to an expired, again, just a little script hint. When you're talking to an expired, a very easy way to get them down instantly would be you didn't sell, but if you had sold, what did you think you were going to net after commission and negotiations? They will give you a number that's much lower than what they would have sold for. And that's where Brian can come up with the equity due.
All right. Tell me about your buyer.
First buyer, looking to make the leap from renting to purchasing, looking to move to a safer neighborhood for their family, and government employee and self-employed. And they did everything we asked them to do. I had great help from Nick on this one. We had a lot of interest in the home because of where it is, and the price range. We had over 500 inquiries on this house.
500.
Yeah, I couldn't keep up with it. We sold this thing in 5 weeks, but we finally found a buyer, a buyer that went through all the steps, and we signed them up.
So in your first few buyers, again, new students, you're going to speak with your coach. Some of you will be speaking directly with Nick. Some of you will be speaking with both, but you're going to be guided through the process to get this sold.
All right, let's dive into our payday one. How much was the non-refundable deposit?
The initial was 3%, so it was $6,000 plus the first month, which is $1,910. Total down payment is 20 grand. So it's a 10%.
Awesome.
Love it. Okay. Monthly payment to the mortgage.
The mortgage payment is $1,613. That's all in.
Love it. Okay. Buyer is 1910.
All in for everyone is PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
Cash flow.
$297.
All right.
36 months.
Term equals
$10,692.
And we will show you guys, as you start to work with us, how to manage the paydays. Okay. You're going to hear from Mark Willis a little bit later about a little bit of advanced things about this, but we're going to show you how to manage the paydays so you set yourself up to win and not stress out.
all right. Price premium. How much do we increase it by?
$25,258.
And you probably did, unlike Rusty, max out where you could go with that, right?
Poor guy.
Sounds it. 199 is like.
Yeah. I mean, at that time it was. I mean, we gave the seller a couple different options for longer terms. She took the shorter term and the lower price. So, yeah. I mean, it's going to work out.
Yeah, it is.
Big
We're going
time.
to find out soon how much it actually did work out.
Mhm.
Principal pay down. How much of principal is coming off each
390,
month?
395, 395.
All right. Times 36 total.
14,200. By the way,
All
I'm
right.
doing all this math in my head as we go here. I just want everyone to
You
know.
are a
You are
wizard.
you are unbelievable.
You're a wizard.
I'm a Charlie Sutherland here. So.
Yeah. Love it. All right. So we already collected 20 grand down from our. So what do we got for back end?
The back end is 19,478.
All right.
So that's for the people who are asking the math. That's what we sold it for, less what we purchased it for, less the 20,000, plus
Principal
the
pay.
14. Chris needs to move to his left. The 14, no, your other left, 14.2, and that's how you come up with the 19,478.
All right. Give me your total profit.
Without the first month's rent, it's 50,170. But I collected the first month, so it's $52,080. 80.
You fix the deposit for the recording. It looks like 26.
By the way, I closed this deal in a parking lot because everything was closed. And we were passing the buyer agreements from the car to the attorney back to me. And I remember that. I said, if this is the most difficult this is going to get, I got this.
I did one of
My
those.
first deal, I'm closing it in a parking lot because everything was closed.
I did one of those in a movie theater parking lot. I think it was my first sandwich, actually.
Yeah.
The only way to do it. Awesome. So fantastic deal. I'm glad that we're hitting different price ranges right now. We didn't do this intentionally, but we went over a $200,000 deal and then we went over an $800,000 deal. So this is covering multiple markets across the entire country. And the interesting dynamic too is that, and we've seen it before, and that it doesn't mean that you're going to have higher profits by the higher price range. This one is 52 versus say 80, but we've done plenty of deals where they're 100,000 or say $200,000 deal that ends up making $100,000 profit. So I just bring this up because too many people get stuck because of HGTV and $1 million listing that they need to be in this like grand price range of $1 million and above. And in all reality, you could just do a lot more deals because of the amount of buyers and the amount of sellers in a lower price range and double your profits with less risk. So I just hit that. Any specific questions? We got about 5 minutes. Any specific questions for Brian?
And while the questions are coming, if you want to really get your brain thinking, we have multiple payday threes this month, but we have one payday three this month on a house we bought for 183 that's well over 100 grand payday three. And I say that to just because some people can't get their arms wrapped around how you can you possibly do that, but we'll get there this afternoon.
Michelle.
Hello, Brian, as well as my fellow coach there. So for this first deal, you had stated earlier that she had it on the market, the seller, for over 200,000. Could you have pushed that purchase price to closer to like 205? You went more conservative. Could you have pushed it more, you think, at that time?
It was not over 200,000. She had it listed for right around a little bit higher than what we had purchased it for. So it wasn't quite that high. That's what we sold it to the buyer for $199,000.
Brian, I'm curious to Michelle's question. Right now, do you know roughly what that appraises for? Ballpark?
Oh yeah, that house. First of all, 2 years later, that house would have sold in 10 minutes in the area that it's in, and it's probably worth about 220.
Yeah.
So I thought 20%.
Yeah. So the buyer walks into that.
Thanks,
That's a
Brian.
good deal. Any other questions for Brian specific on this deal?
Brian, is this the typical? I'm sorry, Chris. I was gonna say, Brian, is this the typical price range of a lot of the houses that you've bought and sold?
Yeah, great question. This took me a while to figure out. So my wheelhouse is right around the 300 to 400 range. I typically find that for me in my market that I find the best buyers in that range with better down payments, and they're more qualified. Not that they're not, but it's somewhere between 200 and half a million. But the real sweet spot for me is like 330 to 400.
And what's the difference between, say, this one, Brian, and deal, I think you're on 8 or 9, but just your later deals as far as your paydays and how you went about it? Any, like, what are the biggest ahas there?
Yeah. So the biggest ahas for and looking back at this deal is I probably could have squeezed another 20 or 25,000 out of it all day. I probably could have taken it sub 2 in hindsight. I just didn't know at the time. One of the things that's helped me get better at deal structuring and more money in my pocket is by doing deal structuring. So whenever I talk to a seller, and everyone needs to do this, whenever I talk to a seller and I gather the information, I get their mortgage details, I get to the point where, okay, this is a lead and I'm going to have some secondary calls. I write out the paydays. So I'll write out typically like a 4 or 5, maybe a 7-year payday, just so I can get comfortable with the deal and how it will be structured. Then it helps me talk to them on the phone, and then I'm actually kind of almost in a way manifesting my 3 paydays because I'm looking for a certain dollar amount. I'm trying to hit my average, which is about 75,000 for all 3.
Nice. Any questions on that?
Outstanding. No.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank
Another
you.
Fantastic deal. I think
Congrats,
you said deal
buddy.
8 or 9. He's on like 11 or 12 now.
Is he?
Yeah. You work with him.
I just keep doing
you're
deals.
my
I don't
coach
care
for
what
crying
number it
out
is.
loud.
He
All right.
forgets where he is sometimes.
I think we're gonna